The day I finally walked out of the Jefferson family mansion, I left behind more than just my cleaning uniform. I left behind every tear, every insult, and every piece of my pride they ever tried to crush. I can still remember Mrs. Jefferson's voice that morning, sharp like broken glass. "Maria, you'll never be more than a maid. People like you should be grateful we even keep you around." She said it loud enough for her spoiled daughter, Tiffany, to hear. The same Tiffany who used to toss her designer clothes on the floor just so I'd have something to pick up. But that day, something inside me snapped. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just smiled, wiped my hands on my apron and said quietly, "You'll remember this face when I'm the one signing your paycheck someday." They laughed. Mr. Jefferson nearly spilled his morning coffee. Tiffany clutched her phone, giggling like it was the funniest joke in the world. But I wasn't joking. Because what they didn't know was that I had a plan. One that had been growing silently, like a seed under concrete, waiting for the right moment to burst through. And when it did, oh, they would regret every single word they ever said. Flashback, 2 years earlier. When I first started working for the Jeffersons, I was only 24, small-town girl, freshly moved to Chicago, full of dreams and desperate for a job. My mama used to say, "A humble start don't mean a humble ending." But cleaning someone else's toilet for 8 hours a day sure didn't feel like the start of anything. The Jeffersons were the kind of family that smiled for the church cameras every Sunday, but treated their help like furniture the rest of the week. Mrs. Jefferson, a perfectly manicured woman with hair so stiff it never moved, would click her heels across the marble floors, shouting orders like a drill sergeant. Mr. Jefferson barely looked at me unless he needed something done. And Tiffany, the youngest, about my age, treated me like her personal servant. She'd toss her makeup brushes at me and say, "Maria, clean this up. You missed a spot on my mirror again." Sometimes I'd stand there and stare at my reflection in that mirror. Hair tied back, uniform faded, eyes tired, and I'd whisper to myself, "This is temporary." But temporary lasted longer than I planned. Bills piled up. My little sister's college fees back home needed paying. And every time I tried to save, something went wrong. Rent, food, bus fare, life kept swallowing everything I earned. I became the girl who smiled while scrubbing floors, who nodded while being insulted, who said yes ma'am when her heart wanted to scream, "No more." Still, I never stopped learning. Every time I overheard Mr. Jefferson talking about his real estate investments, I took mental notes. Every time Mrs. Jefferson bragged about her business meetings, I watched how deals were made. And at night, after mopping floors and washing dishes, I'd sneak into my tiny room in the basement, open my old laptop, and study online business classes. No one knew. Not the Jeffersons. Not even my sister. I was their maid by day, but a dreamer by night. The breaking point. It happened one snowy afternoon. Tiffany threw a party. Unannounced, of course. I came home from the grocery store to find red cups, loud music, and cigarette smoke filling the Jeffersons' living room. And there she was, Tiffany, sitting on the couch, laughing with her friends while I struggled to clean around them. When I tried to ask them to move so I could mop the floor, one of her friends said, "Relax, maid girl. We'll pay you double if you bring us drinks." The room exploded in laughter. I froze. My face burned, my throat tight, but I said nothing. Then Tiffany stood up, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Come on, Maria. That's what you're here for, right? To serve." Something inside me shattered. For years, I had taken every insult, every demand, every ounce of disrespect, all for the sake of survival. But that moment? That was the last straw. I put down the mop, looked her square in the eyes, and said, "You may have money, Tiffany, but I have something you'll never have, hunger." And before anyone could respond, I turned and walked out, leaving the floor half-mopped, the music blaring and Tiffany's jaw hanging open. Fast forward, 1 year later. I wasn't in that mansion anymore. I was in a small, cheap apartment, but it was mine. And on my old laptop, I was building something. Something big. Late nights, early mornings, countless rejections. But I didn't stop. I created an online cleaning service platform, Clean Pro Connect. It matched clients with trained home cleaners across Chicago. It started small, 2 cleaners, 1 neighborhood. Then word spread. People loved it. Within months, I had a small team. Within a year, investors were calling. And soon, I wasn't wearing an apron anymore. I was wearing heels, a navy blue suit, and confidence like armor. One afternoon, while I was walking into a downtown business conference, I saw her. Tiffany Jefferson. She was behind the reception desk, typing slowly, her nails chipped, her face pale. She didn't recognize me at first. Not until I said, "Excuse me, miss. I'm here for the Clean Pro Partnership meeting." Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened slightly. "And Maria," she stammered. I smiled. "That's Ms. Ramirez now." And before she could respond, I turned my badge around. CEO Clean Pro Connect. The color drained from her face. But the real shock came when her mother walked into the room. The air in that conference room went cold the moment Mrs. Jefferson walked in. Her heels clicked sharply on the polished marble floor, her perfume. The same expensive lavender scent I used to smell while scrubbing her floors. Filled the room before she even spoke. Tiffany froze behind the front desk, her lips trembling. But me? I stood tall, my hair in a sleek bun. A tailored navy suit hugging my shoulders. No apron. No glaps. No yes ma'am. Just confidence. Mrs. Jefferson was too busy talking to the man beside her to notice me at first. "We're excited about this potential partnership," she said, flipping her gold-trimmed folder open. "Jefferson Properties always supports small businesses." Then her eyes met mine. And everything stopped. Her jaw dropped slightly. For a second, I saw confusion. Then disbelief. Then panic. "Maria?" she whispered, clutching her pearls as if I'd come back to haunt her. I smiled slow and calm. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Jefferson. It's been a while." The man beside her looked between us, clearly lost. "You two know each other?" Mrs. Jefferson stammered. She used to work for us. As our. I finished her sentence with a polite nod. "Yes. I used to manage household operations for the Jefferson family." I let the words hang in the air just long enough. "Now I manage a multi-million-dollar cleaning enterprise." Her mouth twitched, like she didn't know whether to smile or faint. I could feel Tiffany's eyes on me from across the room, wide, humiliated, and red. That exact moment, was the first taste of real revenge. Not the loud, angry kind. The silent, elegant kind that burns hotter than fire. Flashback, 6 months before that day. Building Clean Pro Connect wasn't easy. There were nights when I cried on the floor of my tiny apartment, surrounded by unpaid bills, wondering if I'd made a mistake leaving that mansion job. But every time I wanted to quit, I remembered Tiffany's voice. "Come on, Maria. That's what you're here for, right? To serve." Those words became my fuel. I hustled harder than I ever had in my life. When I couldn't afford an office, I worked from a coffee shop. When I couldn't afford a web designer, I learned coding myself from YouTube. I built the entire booking system by hand, sometimes working till 3 a.m. with my laptop balanced on a crate. By month 8, the app started catching fire on social media. Affordable. Professional. Fast. People loved it. And when a Chicago real estate company reached out for a cleaning contract for their newly built apartments, I nearly fainted. It wasn't until later that I realized the company was Jefferson Properties. Back to the present, the conference room. The meeting started awkwardly. Mrs. Jefferson tried to keep her composure, pretending like nothing happened, but her eyes kept darting toward me. Tiffany stayed silent at the desk, fidgeting with her pen. "So, Mrs. Jeff," clearing her throat, "we'd like to contract Clean Pro for our upcoming housing developments. We're looking for a cleaning firm with reliable staff." I smiled. "Well, Mrs. Jefferson, reliability is something I take very seriously. After all, I learned firsthand what unreliable treatment looks like." Her cheeks flushed pink. The other executives glanced at her, confused. "Oh, of course," she said quickly. "We value professionalism." "So do I interrupted softly. "Which is why my company has a strict policy against working with organizations that mistreat their workers." Dead silence. You could hear the air conditioning hum. Her lips parted, eyes darting to Tiffany for help. But Tiffany was staring at the floor. Finally, I leaned forward and said, "But don't worry, Mrs. Jefferson. I'm not the kind of person who holds grudges." She exhaled, relieved. "I just believe in consequences." The other executives exchanged puzzled looks. I turned to them with a polite smile. CleanPro will gladly review the partnership proposal, under the condition that Jefferson Properties commits to new fair labor policies, including better treatment and wages for all cleaning staff. The senior executive nodded approvingly. "That's actually a brilliant condition," he said. "Shows leadership." Mrs. Jefferson's fake smile twitched. She nodded stiffly. "Oh, of course we'll review that." The meeting continued, but she barely spoke again. When it ended, I stood up, shook hands with the investors, and then walked past her. She reached out slightly, as if to stop me. "Maria, wait." I turned slowly. "Yes, ma'am." She swallowed hard. "You've come a long way." I smiled. The kind of smile that hides years of pain behind quiet victory. "I told you, Mrs. Jefferson, people like me don't stay maids forever." And with that, I walked out. That night, I sat in my car, parked outside the same mansion where I used to live in the basement. From a distance, I could see the warm light through their windows. The same house where I'd scrubbed floors on my knees. I wasn't there to go inside. I was there to remember. To remember how it felt to be invisible. To remember why I'd fought so hard to change my story. And as I sat there, watching my breath fog the window, my phone buzzed a notification. Email. Partnership agreement approved, Jefferson Properties. I smiled. They'd just agreed to a deal that would make CleanPro one of the biggest cleaning brands in the city. And the Jeffersons? They'd have to pay me every single month. But what I didn't know was that Tiffany wasn't done with me yet. Because 3 days later, she showed up at my office, looking desperate, broken, and hiding something that would change everything. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when she walked into my office, uninvited, unannounced, and completely out of place. Tiffany Jefferson. Her once perfect hair was frizzy from the drizzle. Her mascara smudged like she'd cried in the car. The sharp, entitled sparkle that used to dance in her blue eyes was gone, replaced with something I'd never seen in her before. Fear. She stood there for a few seconds, holding her designer bag close to her chest like a shield. My receptionist, Camille, looked confused. "Ma'am, do you have an appointment?" Tiffany ignored her. Her voice cracked slightly as she said, "I need to see Maria. Please. It's urgent." When I stepped out of my glass office door and saw her standing there, soaked, pale, and trembling, I didn't know whether to laugh or pity her. "Tiffany," I asked quietly, "you look different." She flinched at my tone, soft but steady. It wasn't the maid's voice she used to hear. It was the boss's. I led her inside, and she sat down slowly, eyes darting around the modern office. The glossy furniture, the team of assistants typing away, the plaque on the wall that read, "Maria Ramirez, founder and CEO, CleanPro Connect." It was the same name she used to mock. Now it was written in gold. "You have a beautiful office," she said softly, her voice trembling. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my legs. "Thank you. You helped inspire it, remember?" Her eyes fell. "Yeah," she whispered. "I guess I did." The confession. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The rain tapped against the window. My assistant brought her a cup of tea, but Tiffany barely touched it. Finally, she took a deep breath and said, "Maria, I need a job." I blinked. For a moment I thought I misheard. "A job?" I repeated. She nodded quickly, voice cracking. "Please. I know it sounds crazy, but I've lost everything. My dad's company, Jefferson Properties, it's collapsing. Mom's been drinking. We're selling the house. And I can't find work anywhere." Her words came out in a rush, desperate, shaky, raw. "I've been applying everywhere. No one wants to hire me. I don't have real experience. I don't even have a degree. I just need a chance." I stared at her. The same girl who once threw makeup brushes at me and laughed while calling me maid girl. Now she was sitting across from me, begging for help. "Why me, Tiffany?" I asked quietly. "You could have gone to your rich friends, your mom's contacts." "They're all gone," she snapped, then caught herself and lowered her voice. When the scandal broke, they cut us off. I frowned. Scandal? She hesitated, biting her lip. You don't know? I shook my head. My dad's being investigated for fraud, she whispered. They froze our accounts. Mom's trying to keep up appearances, but we're drowning, Maria. We're finished. The room went silent. I felt a strange mix of emotions swirling inside. Me anger, satisfaction, but also pity. So now you want to work for me? I said finally. She nodded slowly. I'll do anything. I don't care what it is. You can make me clean offices, scrub floors. I just need to start somewhere. Her voice cracked again, and for the first time in my life, I saw real humility in her. Still, part of me remembered everything. The insults, the humiliation, the nights I cried because of her cruelty. So I leaned forward, folding my hands on the desk. You know, Tiffany, there was a time you told me I'd never be more than a maid. Her eyes filled with tears. I know. And I was wrong. You were cruel. I know. You treated me like dirt. I know, Maria, she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right if you just give me a chance. The test. I studied her for a long moment. Then I smiled faintly. Okay. Her head shot up. Wait, you mean it? Yes, I said calmly. But not here. I don't give handouts. You'll start where I started. She frowned. Meaning you'll work for CleanPro as a cleaner. Her eyes widened. You want me to be a maid? I nodded. You said you'll do anything. Prove it. She stared at me, her mouth opening, closing, then opening again. For a second, I thought she'd storm out like her old self. But instead, she lowered her gaze and nodded. Okay, I'll do it. And that's when I knew she was serious. 1 week later, watching Tiffany mop floors for the first time was surreal. Gone were the heels and glitter. She wore a simple CleanPro uniform, her blonde hair tied in a messy bun, her face bare. The other cleaners didn't know who she was. To them, she was just another recruit. But to me, she was a walking reminder of how far I'd come. She worked quietly, no complaints. When someone told her she'd missed a spot, she didn't argue. She just nodded and did it again. It was almost humbling to watch. Still, part of me didn't trust her. People like Tiffany didn't change overnight. And my suspicions were confirmed 2 weeks later, when I walked into the storage room and found her on the phone whispering. No, Mom, she doesn't suspect anything, she hissed. I'm in. Just like you said. My heart dropped. I stood frozen behind the door listening. Yes, I'll get access to her client list soon, Tiffany continued. We'll leak it, and her company will fall. Just like Dad planned. I nearly gasped, but I caught myself. So this wasn't humility. This wasn't redemption. It was revenge. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. The Jeffersons weren't done trying to destroy me. But this time, they had no idea who they were messing with. I stood frozen behind the half-open storage room door. Every word Tiffany said cutting through me like glass. No, Mom, she doesn't suspect anything. I'm in. Just like you said. Those words kept echoing in my head, sharp and poisonous. All this time, her tears, her begging, her fake humility, it was all part of a setup. I gripped the edge of a metal shelf, my knuckles white. I had offered her mercy, and she had taken it as weakness. I waited until she hung up, then quietly stepped back before she could notice me. My heart was pounding so hard I thought she might hear it. As I walked down the hallway, one thought burned in my mind. They still think I'm the same maid they used to control. They had no idea the woman they were trying to play had built her entire empire out of betrayal, pain, and strategy. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd show them what clean revenge looked like. Later that night, I sat alone in my apartment, city lights flickering through the glass. My phone buzzed, an email from Jefferson Properties. Subject: Request for proposal access, urgent. Sender: Tiffany Jefferson, on behalf of Mrs. Jefferson. So that was the plan. They wanted my client list, my biggest asset. If they could leak it, they'd destroy my contracts, ruin my credibility, and end everything I'd built. I smiled slowly. They thought they were clever. But I was about to show them just how dangerous kindness can be when it's betrayed. I opened my laptop, typed a few lines, and set a plan in motion. A trap they'd never see coming. 2 days later, at the office, Tiffany walked in like nothing had happened, carrying cleaning supplies and smiling politely. "Morning, Ms. Ramirez." I smiled back. "Morning, Tiffany." She thought I didn't know. She thought she was winning. Perfect. Later that day, I called her into my office. "Tiffany, I've been reviewing your work," I said casually. "You've been doing well. I think it's time to give you more responsibility." Her eyes lit up. "Really?" "Yes. I need someone trustworthy to help with our digital records. You'll have limited access to our client portal, under supervision." Her lips twitched, a spark of excitement she tried to hide. "Wow, thank you, Maria. I won't let you down." I smiled softly. "I'm counting on that." She didn't know that the files she'd get access to were fake. An entire decoy database I'd had my IT team create overnight. Each record looked real. Company names, addresses, payments. But they all led to one outcome: exposure. The moment she tried to leak it, I'd know. 3 nights later. It happened faster than I expected. At 1:47 a.m., my system alert went off. Unauthorized data transfer detected. I logged in from home, heart steady this time. The user ID, T. Jefferson01. She was actually doing it. She'd taken the bait. I called my security manager immediately. "Trace it, document everything, and send a copy to the authority."
"Understood," he said. "Should we block her?" "No," I replied coldly. "Let her finish." The next morning, when Tiffany arrived, I acted normal. She looked nervous, her eyes darted away when she greeted me. Maybe she thought I already knew. Maybe guilt was creeping in. At 10 a.m., my lawyer walked into the office with a folder. "It's done," he whispered. I nodded. Minutes later, 2 uniformed officers entered the building quietly. My staff froze, whispering. I stood up and said calmly, "Tiffany Jefferson, could you step into my office, please?" Her face went pale. What's happening?" "Just a small issue," I said gently. "Come on in." She followed me in, her hands shaking. I closed the door and turned my laptop toward her. On the screen was her email, the message she sent to her mother with the leaked data attached. You knew," she stammered. "Of course," I said softly. "You think I built $1 million company without learning to protect it?" Tears filled her eyes. "Please, Maria. I didn't mean to." "Don't," I cut her off. "Don't lie to me again." Outside, the officers waited. I wasn't sure if I wanted her arrested, not yet. I wanted her to feel what I felt once, powerless, cornered, scared. "I trusted you," I said quietly. "I gave you a chance to rebuild your life. And you tried to destroy mine." "Mom made me do it," she cried. "She said if I didn't help, she'd disown me." "Please, Maria, I swear I didn't want to." Her voice broke. I studied her carefully. For the first time, I believed her. Maybe she really was just her mother's puppet, the same way I once was a servant in their home. But forgiveness wasn't part of my plan. Not yet. "You'll come with me," I said. "We're going to your mother's office." She looked up, startled. "Why?" I smiled faintly. "Because it's time she learned what happens when you underestimate a maid." That afternoon, Jefferson Properties headquarters. Mrs. Jefferson was in her office, pretending to hold things together. When we walked in, me, Tiffany, and my lawyer, she looked up, startled. "Maria? What's the meaning of this?" I laid the printed emails on her desk, proof of her plan. Her face drained of color. "You used your daughter," I said coldly. "You tried to destroy my company. Again." She stood slowly, her lips trembling. "You don't understand." "No, you don't understand," I cut in sharply. "The people you look down on always rise. And when they do, they remember everything." Tiffany burst into tears. Mom, please, stop. I can't do this anymore. But Mrs. Jefferson's eyes were on me, full of hatred and fear. You'll regret this, Maria, she hissed. I smiled, leaning forward. Oh, I already don't. Because tomorrow morning, every investor, partner, and news outlet in this city will know what the Jefferson family tried to do. I turned toward the door.
And if you think I'm bluffing, just check your email in 5 minutes. Outside the building, Tiffany followed me, still crying. What will happen to her? She whispered. I paused, glancing back at her. Whatever she deserves. Then I walked away. Heels clicking, chin high, heart pounding. For years they'd controlled me. Now I controlled their fate. But as the rain began to fall again, something inside me shifted. A question I couldn't shake. Was this justice? Or was I becoming just like them? The next morning, Chicago woke up to chaos. Emails, headlines, phone alerts, all carrying one story. Jefferson Properties under investigation for corporate fraud and data theft attempt. Within hours, the Jefferson family's name, once gold-plated across billboards and charity galas, had turned to rust. Their investors pulled out. Their business partners suspended all deals. And their mansion, the one I used to mop at dawn, became surrounded by reporters. I watched it all unfold from my office window, sipping coffee in silence. Every headline, every news flash, every public statement was a brick in the wall of poetic justice I'd built with my own 2 hands. But even as I watched their empire burn, a strange heaviness settled in my chest. I'd dreamed of this moment for years, the day the Jeffersons would fall and I'd rise. Yet now that it was happening, victory didn't feel as sweet as I expected. Later that afternoon, CleanPro headquarters. My assistant, Camille, burst into my office. Maria, you have to see this. She handed me her tablet. On the screen was a live news clip. Mrs. Jefferson outside her mansion, sunglasses on, reporters shouting questions. Mrs. Jefferson, did you orchestrate a corporate espionage plot against CleanPro Connect? No comment, she snapped, pushing past them. But the camera caught something else, Tiffany in the background, crying. Not fake tears this time. Real ones. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on my couch, staring at the ceiling, remembering everything. The basement room, the broken mop handle, the laughter echoing from upstairs. I should have felt proud. Instead, I felt tired. Maybe revenge wasn't supposed to make you happy. Maybe it was just supposed to set you free. But the problem was, I wasn't free yet. Because Tiffany still hadn't told me the full story. The call. Around midnight, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Until I saw the text that followed. Please. It's Tiffany. I need to talk. Something in me told me to answer. Tiffany. Her voice was shaky. Maria. Mom's losing it. She blames me for everything. She says you set us up. She's been drinking all day, and now she's talking about running away before the investigators come. I sat up straight. Running away? Tiffany, where is she? I don't know. She left the house an hour ago in Dad's car. She said something about taking back control before you ruin her completely. Her voice cracked into a sob. I'm scared, Maria. She's not thinking straight. My heart tightened. This wasn't part of the plan. I wanted justice, not tragedy. Stay where you are, I said. I'm coming. An hour later, the Jefferson mansion. The gates were half open. The front door too. The once pristine mansion now looked lifeless. Boxes stacked in the hallway, lights flickering, the smell of alcohol thick in the air. Maria? Tiffany's voice echoed from the living room. She looked a mess, barefoot, eyes red, shaking. She took the car. I don't know where she's going. Before I could answer, the TV flashed with breaking news. Breaking. Former businesswoman Linda Jefferson spotted near Lakeshore Drive Bridge after corporate fraud scandal. My heart sank. Oh no, Tiffany whispered, covering her mouth. I grabbed my phone and ran out the door. Call 911. I shouted. Tell them we're on our way. At the bridge. The wind was fierce that night. The waves below crashed against the concrete. And there, standing at the edge of the bridge, staring down, was Mrs. Jefferson. Her hair was wild, her coat half-buttoned, her hands trembling. When I called her name, she turned around slowly, eyes hollow, makeup streaked. Maria, she said softly. You finally won, didn't you? Mrs. Jefferson, please step away from the edge, I said, my voice shaking. She laughed bitterly. Funny, isn't it? The maid telling her mistress what to do. You must be proud. This isn't about pride, I said, taking a step forward. It's over. Let it go. Over, she spat. My husband's in custody, my company's gone, my daughter hates me. And you're standing there telling me it's over? Tiffany ran up behind me, crying. Mom, please come down. Mrs. Jefferson's gaze softened at the sound of her daughter's voice, but then hardened again. You betrayed me too. No, Mom, Tiffany sobbed. I tried to fix it, I swear. Maria didn't want this. Her mother's lip trembled. For a moment, I thought she might step back. But then she whispered, almost to herself. I can't live in your shadow, Maria. Not after everything I did to keep you beneath me. And she leaned forward. Oh, no. I screamed, lunging. I caught her wrist, cold, trembling, weak. For one terrifying second, she dangled between life and death, the wind roaring below. Please, Tiffany cried. I gritted my teeth and pulled with everything I had. We both fell backward onto the ground, gasping. Mrs. Jefferson broke down in tears, sobbing uncontrollably. And for the first time ever, I didn't see her as my enemy. I saw her as a broken woman who'd finally run out of power. The aftermath. Paramedics arrived minutes later. They took her away, wrapped in a blanket, still weeping. Tiffany stood beside me, shaking. Why did you save her, after everything she did? I looked at her, tears burning in my own eyes. Because revenge has an ending, Tiffany. But guilt doesn't. I won't carry that. She nodded slowly, crying harder now. I'm sorry, Maya. For everything. For what I did. For what she made me do. You didn't deserve any of it. I put a hand on her shoulder. You're right. I didn't. But maybe we both deserve a second chance. That night, as I drove home, I passed the old billboard that once advertised Jefferson Properties, built on trust. Now it was half torn down. Soon a new one would take its place, one that read, Clean Pro Connect, building from the ground up. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Because when a family like the Jeffersons falls, they don't just disappear. They regroup. They rebuild. And sometimes, they come back for revenge of their own.